Well, hello there and welcome back. My name is Stephanie Safarian, and you're listening to episode 217 of the Sustainable Minimalist Podcast, a twice weekly show about intentional and eco minimalist living. On today's show, we are discussing your first steps for detoxing your home of harmful cleaning products. Now, who better to talk to about this than Megan Mikkelson. Megan is known these days on this podcast as the non-toxic lady. uh, and if you missed Megan's previous what's the word? Oh my goodness. Her previous appearances on this podcast, she was on episode 194 and number 203. We talked about non-toxic nail polish and non-toxic hair dye solutions. Today, we are talking about non-toxic cleaning solutions for you. I should say that Megan is opening up her signature course in the next few weeks. It's called the Home Method, and it is your roadmap to fully detoxing your home of all the harmful stuff in 6 weeks without feeling overwhelmed or procrastinating or busting your budget. Megan, I'm so excited to talk to you for a third time. Third time's a charm. How are you?
I am so good, and it's so great to be here again. And I love being, talked about as the non-toxic guru because that is where my passion lies.
Well, it's so funny. I had put out an Instagram story saying, "What do you want me to talk about?" And one person, Lauren, shout out to Lauren, said she wanted to hear about sustainable cleaning products with the quote, non toxic lady. So that is you, and that is a reason why we're doing this show. Tell my listeners who you are and what you do for anybody who missed your first two appearances on the show.
Yeah, so I'm Megan Mikkelson again, and I have my own podcast as well called Toxin Free Talk. And I have a background in health. I've been passionate about my personal health since I was in high school, and it led me to get my master's in public health. And I worked in the prevention space for many years in the public health arena. And it wasn't until my daughters were born that I realized how little I really was taught and knew about environmental toxins. I became aware of a toy that had lead in it. And I was really shocked that a toy that was marketed for children could be sold in a store. And it just opened up that idea that we are marketed to constantly. We buy things in the store, but just because things are sold in a store doesn't necessarily mean they are safe. And so, with my public health background, I just dug in deeper and researched and learned more. And first, I just started detoxing my home of the cleaning products and then moved on to everything else that I bring in my home. So now I think about, is this thing that I'm buying at the store, is this have potential toxins in it? And I know that it's really difficult for the lay person, someone who's not as interested in products and ingredients, to really figure this out on their own. And so that is why I'm here and why I have my podcast and this course that can help you detox your entire home, again, without procrastinating or getting overwhelmed. And you end up leaving the course feeling confident that you can shop without getting tricked or bringing toxins, unexpected toxins into your home.
Well, way back when, I don't even know what episode it was. It must have been in the first 10 or 20 episodes of this podcast. And I cringed even bringing it up because my first episodes were so bad. Don't listen to them, people. Well, you should listen to them, but listen to them with a grain of salt. I covered how to make your own cleaning products at home. And this episode is not that. We're not talking about how to make your own cleaning products. We're instead talking about how to find, identify the toxic stuff that you have and what to perhaps replace it with. This is not the DIY episode. I've already done that. So why don't we start there? Megan, tell us what, in your opinion, are some of the problems associated with the conventional cleaning products that line the shelves of the supermarket?
Yeah, so there are a lot of issues, but one of them, the major issues, goes back to regulations. So the EPA is the governing body in the US that regulates cleaning products. And there are thousands of chemicals, new chemicals that come onto the market every single year. And these chemicals often wind up in our cleaning products because people want, or the companies want to market the brand new stuff that works better, in quotes, but yet the health repercussions really are not determined until there is something that happens. Simply, the EPA cannot determine, the safety of every single product. They're not funded to do so. And so, unfortunately, when you go shopping at a store, you can't trust that any of those products have been studied or have been proven to be safe. And I think we're just living in a time now where companies are constantly coming out with new things because they want us to buy new stuff. And if you watch, the TV anywhere you get advertised to, you can see that. You can see that there's a new scent that comes out for your laundry detergent, or there's this brand new pod. Like if you think about those laundry detergent pods, if you look at them, they now have like a safety cap on them so that kids can't get into them. And sure, kids shouldn't be eating laundry detergent, but really, let's think about this here. Like, how safe is that to be in our home and around our children when it's just really not regulated, like I said.
Hmm. I think a lot of listeners, perhaps not listeners of this podcast or your podcast because they've heard this before, but consumers in general assume that if it's on the shelf, it has been proven safe. But what I hear you saying is that that's not true. Products, especially cleaning products, are assumed to be safe until they're proven dangerous. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, that is exactly what I'm saying. And the same with those chemicals that are created every year. They really are not, and those are just the straight up chemicals, but then they do end up being in some products. And we really don't know what especially the long-term health repercussions, but even the short-term health repercussions. Another issue with cleaning products is that you might not even see the entire ingredient label. So most companies do disclose what's in their cleaning product, but according to the regulations, they actually don't have to list every single ingredient in their product unless one of those ingredients has been determined that it needs to be on the chemicals of known concern list. And so you can look that up, but it gets really dicey here. But if you're really interested, you can go figure out what's on that known chemicals of known concern list. But anyway, the regulations are so loose that really they can put a brand new chemical in the product. It has not been determined if it's safe or not, and they wouldn't even have to disclose on the label what is in the product. It's pretty crazy.
You know, another concern that I hear all the time, or not even a concern, it's more of a rebuttal, is that my mom, my grandma used these cleaning products all throughout my childhood, and I'm fine. Why is it not logical, let's say, to assume that just because our elders used such and such product, it naturally must mean it's safe?
Well, there's a couple different reasons, but number one is, say your mom used a specific cleaning product, 25 years ago. We don't necessarily know that it's actually created with the same ingredients. A lot of times companies are trying to increase their profit margins. And so they might be using cheaper products or different kinds of packaging. And so we can't assume that whatever brand my mom used, that it's necessarily the exact same product that we're using today. The other thing is that we are impacted by our environmental toxins way more now than we used to be. And so every one of those toxins that's in our environment or that we use on our bodies, all of those things add up on our bodies, and that's called body burden. And 25 years ago, 30 years ago, even more than that, there weren't as many toxins in things like our furniture or our carpets or those sorts of things. And so we are more impacted by our environment today than we ever have been. And so those are the two major reasons, but also just because your mom or your family has seemed healthy, we don't know what is actually causing some even minimal health issues. For example, having asthma, or maybe having eczema, or maybe having increased allergies. All of those things can actually be helped by changing out the cleaning products or other products that you're using. And so you might think, oh, we're all fine, but are we really fine? I mean, I don't know anyone that is 100% healthy without having some sort of issue, right? And so sometimes we just don't think about how much those things in our environment can impact even our small little health issues.
I'm wondering how greenwashing comes into play here too. I know that greenwashing is rampant, especially in the cleaning product realm. You did a really phenomenal Instagram reel on Instagram about Miss Myers. I mean, if Miss Myers doesn't exude natural and quote unquote clean, I don't know what does. But talk to me. What's wrong with Miss Myers? It used to be a bathroom.
Yeah. So I for always like to say too that like I was greenwashed by Mrs. Myers too. Mrs. Myers was the one cleaning product in my home that I had these really dark black granite tile, and every other spray I tried to use on it would leave streaks, and it drove me crazy. And then I finally found Mrs. Myers. Of course, I bought it from the natural section of the grocery store. So I assumed that it would be totally safe, right? And this is before I was really as far along as I am now on my toxin free journey. And I was believing the marketing on the front of the package versus reading the ingredients. And I remember spraying that again around my little kids, thinking, oh, this is a healthy cleaning product. And even I would get, it was so scented, I would get this like feeling in my chest of like, ugh, this doesn't feel good. But to me, then I just thought, oh, that means this is cleaning really well.
Yeah. And it's Mrs. Myers. She wouldn't hear me wrong.
Yeah, it's Mrs. Meyers. So a lot of people think like Mrs. Meyers is made by some sweet grandma in the Midwest. And it's actually not. It is owned by I think SC Johnson or Procter and Gamble. I can't remember right now. It just flew out of my head, but it's owned by a large corporation. And it was created as a way to market to a different niche of people who were more in tune with going natural. And they have done some things to like become a little bit more transparent over the years, but they still use a lot of ingredients that I personally would not use in a product or bring into my home. And what they have done that drives me the most crazy is that they sandwich in the term fragrance between a lot of other essential oils. And so when I say sandwich in, I'm a detailed ingredient label reader. But if you were just scanning it quickly and you didn't know any better, you would say, see essential geranium oil and essential lemon oil and essential, all these essential oils in it, which are great. But then in between a couple of different essential oils will be the term fragrance. And the reason why fragrance is bad is because it's a proprietary term and the company does not need to disclose what actually is within that term fragrance. And studies have been done that show that up to 3,000 different ingredients can be held within the term fragrance. So if you see fragrance on the label, just like if it's sandwiched in between the essential oils on a Mrs. Meyers bottle, you really don't know what's in the product. They're not being fully transparent. And so, fragrance is one of the things that I always encourage people to look for first off when they are detoxing their home and they're starting to read ingredient labels.
Hmm. Well, you did mention that you always turn a product over and look at the ingredient label. And I do want to get there. I do want to ask you, what should myself and what should my listeners be looking for? But before I ask you that, I need to say that I feel as though a lot of my listeners probably are feeling overwhelmed with the thought of standing in the grocery store, turning over these products, reading all these chemicals. Like that can be overwhelming. And so therein lies the apps, right? There are so many of them. You just type in the product, it tells you if it's clean, if it's dirty. Do the apps work in your opinion?
There are some apps that do work that are better than others, I should say. So, Think Dirty is one of them. And then the Environmental Working Group has another one called Healthy Living. I personally would more suggest Healthy Living over Think Dirty. And the reason why is because these apps actually have to have some funding behind them, right? So, you can actually pay on Think Dirty to have your product seen more and the rating to be a little bit better. And so I don't think that they are as transparent and as good as they should be, because they should be really disclosing what is safe and what's not. And so I don't really trust Think Dirty as much. Same thing with the Environmental Working Group. A lot of times they have these verified labels, and the companies have to pay to get verified. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, because Environmental Working Group does more research on the verified ones, and they need that funding to actually do the research. But there are companies that can't afford to become EWG verified, and they still have great ingredients and great products out there. So I always try to think about the balance of what is this app doing and thinking about the funding behind it before I just trust anything. The other issue with apps is that, it was whatever their analysis is on the product that they were given at that time. And you don't know that what you're buying in the store is actually the same version of what, is in the app. And that happens a lot because these small companies who might be doing the right thing when they start out end up getting bought out by larger corporations. And as we talked earlier about profit margins, sometimes those ingredient labels change, and the ingredients change so that they can make more money off of the product, and they'll choose a cheaper preservative or whatever it is because they just want to increase their profit margins.
Hmm. Your whole answer there is a great plug for self sufficiency, right? There's no shortcuts. Apps may be convenient, but there's no substitute for learning how to read an ingredient label yourself. I think that's what you're saying. So that brings me to the obvious question, which is, how do you read an ingredient label on cleaning products? I know you say, don't look at the front, turn it over, don't judge a book by its cover, even perhaps. So when you're looking at a list of dozens, maybe even 100 chemical ingredients, where do you start? What do you do?
Yeah. So, first of all, I remember when I first started down this road, I was like, oh, that word is super long and I can't pronounce it. That must be bad. And that's not necessarily true. And so, what I would say is it's that's what I teach in my course, the home method, because I can't teach it right now, like in a podcast. It's a whole set of modules that teaches you everything. But if you want to start paying attention, a few things to look out for. Again, we talked about fragrance. If fragrance is in there, or even natural fragrance, it means that the full ingredient list isn't disclosed. And so you really don't know what chemicals are in there. You also want to look for triclosan or phthalates. And those are just a few. But if you really want to become as knowledgeable as I am when I go to the grocery store or to Target or wherever and I read my labels, then really the home method is the perfect way for you to do that.
Mm. And we're going to talk about the home method in a couple minutes, but I guess I have to ask for anybody listening who has a lot of cleaning products, has under the sinks full throughout their homes of potentially hazardous cleaning products. What should they do with them? How should they decipher what they should keep versus what they should pass along?
Yeah. So, and I understand that you don't necessarily want to dump everything all at once. First of all, it can be really expensive to completely clean out your home all in one fell swoop. But also, it's not necessarily great for the environment to just dump everything into your water system. And so, what I actually encourage is for people to do the analysis first of each individual product and do something. I call it the Sharpie strategy, where which I teach in my home method, where you can, decide whether or not you want to keep it or not while you're doing the research. Then you use it up. And then when that product is gone, then you find a better replacement for it. And so you're doing it little by little over time. And I also teach that, again, we're marketed to constantly. And again, these companies are trying to create new products for us that we might not necessarily need. So you'll often look under a sink, a bathroom sink, and there's a toilet cleaner, there's a shower cleaner, there's a tile cleaner, there's a glass cleaner. Do we really need to have different cleaners for every single cleaning purpose? I have found that we really don't. The countertop cleaner works really great as a glass cleaner as well. And that product also works well as a toilet cleaner and a shower cleaner. And I think that we don't need to necessarily have separate things for everything. I love that minimalist approach where it's just one product that does it all. And so when you clean out your products, when you detox, you might not necessarily need to fill it all back up with specific cleaners for one purpose.
And the minimalists listening, I'm sure, love that. Cleaning out the excess, having more free and open space. Like, who doesn't want that? But you mentioned your Sharpie strategy there. You really just touched on it. I'm wondering if you could give us a little bit more details behind it.
Yeah. So when you're reading an ingredient label, you read through, make sure everything in that label is safe and then or not. And really, you basically mark it and say, do I need to replace this or do I want to keep it? And so then when you ran out, oh, I am going to replace this. So now I need to go and find a product that is safe, that is going to replace this one that I'm throwing out. Or oh, I know that this is a safe product. Okay, I can buy it again and put it back under my sink.
So, where does the Sharpie come in?
Oh, I take the Sharpie and mark it right there on the product. So then and you're not having to, did I look at this? Did I look this up already? Is this safe or not? It's all right there. And you're using it. Oh, this is running out. Oh, I need to replace it. You don't have to go look in some piece of paper that you put in your junk drawer and you forgot about it. It's right there on the product.
Got it. So I'm sitting on my kitchen floor. My cabinet under my sink is open. I'm taking out the products. I'm reading the ingredient lists, and I see one that, oh no, it has triclosan. So I'm going to write replace on it.
Exactly. Exactly. It's pretty simple.
Got it. So I have to ask you, what are some cleaning products that you use and love in your own home?
Yeah. So I actually have my own store, and I know that some people don't necessarily want to learn everything that I have. I know. And so they just rather just buy from me because has my stamp of approval on it. And so in my store, I have the brand Meliora is one of my favorites. It's made in the US. They use really eco-friendly packaging, and I really trust their manufacturing and the ingredients that they're using. I actually got the chance to chat with Kate, the owner, and I have a podcast episode on that if you're curious. It's really fun. And then there's other things that I prefer to use. Like, you don't necessarily need harsh chemicals all the time. Like, a pumice stone is a really great tool to use to scratch away dirt and remove dirt versus having to use a cleaner. So, like, I have that in my store. But Meliora is really my favorite brand.
I'm thinking about my most skeptical listener. I don't know who he or she is, but I have him or her in the I have her him I have him or her in the back of my mind, and he or she would be saying, But does the natural stuff, the non-toxic stuff actually clean? Like, I don't want to spend more money potentially on a product that actually doesn't get rid of germs and bacteria. So, in your capacity as a toxin free advocate, do the natural and non toxic stuff actually clean?
Yes, they do. So I also like to teach about when you really truly need to quote unquote clean versus when you need to just remove dirt. So if you've had like a flu outbreak in your home, you do want something that's going to be antibacterial, antiviral, that's going to really clean out the germs. But for most cases, you don't necessarily want to use a product that is that harsh, like if you're just cleaning up some crumbs after breakfast or something, you really don't necessarily want to be using something that's super harsh, because we need bacteria in our systems and in our homes too. They're just, it's good for us. So there's that. But also, there are some safe products that do really break down and kill viruses. And even OSHA comes out, the Occupational Safety Health Advisory, they actually have a list of cleaning products that are deemed safe to use in commercial settings. And even some of those are truly safe, like hydrogen peroxide. A lot of people don't think about hydrogen peroxide as being a home based cleaner. You'll see it at the dentist or something like that. But it actually is a great thing to keep on hand at home if you really want to clean. And it is safe. And it's super affordable too.
I just bought some the other day. I think it was like $2 for a jug. Like, perfect. So, Megan, tell us a little bit more about the home method. We just talked about cleaning products today, but you were so generous in letting me take your course, and cleaning products is just one small, small snippet of everything you cover. So, tell me a little bit more.
Yeah. So I basically, it just walks you through everything. So, first, in the first module, and if you've never taken an online course, just so you know what it's like, you have your own login and you can go through the course on your own time frame. And it's basically like watching these videos that teach you everything you need to know to detox your home from top to bottom. So, in the first modules, you're really learning about why it's so important to pay attention to the products that you use, and really how women are more exposed to men simply because we use more products every single day. And so that's kind of the first lesson. And then we go into a little bit deeper dive into what body burden is and how these chemicals can actually impact your body and the long-term issues that they can that happen from them. And then we talk about really those loopholes in the regulations that we've been talking about today. And then I teach you about how to really do that label analysis, how to do it, what the red flag and toxic ingredients are, and how to use that simple Sharpie strategy to really start detoxing your home room by room. And then I walk you through every space in your home that would have cleaning products and personal care products. And personal care products, what I mean by that is your deodorants, your lotions, your face soaps, all those sorts of things, all those products that you use daily usually. And so we just walk through every area in your home and detox all of it. And so then at the end, I help you figure out how to find those safe swaps. So you figure out what needs to be replaced and then how to choose safer and healthier replacements for those products.
Hmm. What I loved about your course was, I know we mentioned before, it can be very overwhelming for anybody who's just dipping their toe into this arena. What I love about your course is that it's really kind of a virtual hand holding for those of us who really don't know where to start and just feel frozen by the fear of the unknown. So, where can my listeners learn more, ask you questions, sign up if they're interested? Where can that all happen?
Yeah, yeah. So, first of all, yeah, I totally agree with you. That's really why I created the course because if it were me, what I would do would be like, oh, I'd start with a few cleaning products and then I would just be like, oh, this is too much work. I don't want to do it. And so by having the being enrolled in the course, you actually are going to get emails that are going to remind you to go back and do it. And you're going to have really a checklist that's going to keep you on task versus kind of starting and quitting. So, one thing that I would encourage you if you're listening today is to join my free masterclass. I'm doing 3 different time slots. You can pick one that works best for your time. And it's called the 3 Home Detox Secrets for Beginners. And the great thing about this masterclass is you're going to learn those 3 home detox secrets, but then at the end of the masterclass, I'm going to be doing live Q&A. So you can just pop on and ask me your questions, type in your questions and I'll get to them. So that's a really great way to start if you're interested in getting started here. And you can we're going to have the links in the show notes about where to sign up for that masterclass, the 3 home detox secrets. And then if you're ready to get started, there's also going to be a link in the show notes for the course, the home method as well. So if you're ready to go right now, you can grab the link in the show notes for the home method. But if you still want to know more and you want to learn those 3 home detox secrets, I encourage you to sign up for that masterclass as well.
Well, Megan, I want to thank you so much for coming on a third time. We've covered so many things in your so many important topics in your 3 appearances on this show. I look forward to hearing about how the course runs and continuing to follow your work. So thank you so much.
Thank you again. And so I love working with you, Stephanie, and I love we think very similarly, and I just love connecting and sharing together our different areas.